Egmont, the beautiful waterfront fishing village at the top of the Sechelt Inlet. For those of us who make the trip up coast by car, plane, boat, or wing, the payoff is the same. Absolute, pristine magnificence. This is the raison d'etre for postcards. The Sechelt Inlet is one of the world's most interesting waterways, but you may also be interested to know that at the water's edge is a world-class staycation destination and gourmet restaurant. The West Coast Wilderness Lodge isn't just a place for weddings and honeymoons. If you're into fine dining, their dinner menu is divine. I recommend their raspberry and soy poached wild sockeye salmon with strawberry and orange salsa on lemongrass-infused jasmine pilaf. But I also overheard many patrons and ah over the lamb, the steak, and the halibut. Every dish is a gourmand's delight, and the atmosphere is second to none.
Wow. It's really good.
A real treat when staying at the lodge is indulging in dinner. A short, windy wooden path leads you to your room in seconds, where you get to enjoy all the beauty of the Egmont waterfront from the comfort of your own bed. There's a big emphasis on luxury and decadence, and the soaker tub is an extra romantic touch. Let me tell you, there's nothing more relaxing than a candlelit, open-air bubble bath. And the West Coast Wilderness Lodge makes it easy for you to feel hundreds of miles away, right here on the Sunshine Coast. But the night gets even better. You can also cozy up by the fire and unwind. A great meal, a relaxing bubble bath, and a cozy fireplace. There's no better way to end the day in the magical beauty that is Egmont. A perfect time to wind down, because tomorrow is going to be full of action. It's early morning at the West Coast Wilderness Lodge, and the gardens are bursting with the life of a new day. But don't smell the flowers for too long, because there's lots to do. Shall we take a Hotham Sound kayak tour? Or a float plane trip to Phantom Lake? Ooh, how about a trip to the Eco Spa? That sounds decadent, but so does heli hiking in the Alpine. A twilight phosphorescence guided kayak tour? I'll save that for the evening. I think I'll go on a Zodiac tour of Princess Louisa Inlet. I've heard that Chatterbox Falls is something out of fairy tales. But first things first, time to suit up. It feels counterintuitive to put on such a heavy one piece. I feel like an astronaut, but as I learned, these suits come in handy when you're traveling at such high speeds.
Hang on to your hat. I do travel about 30 miles an hour.
After about 5 minutes, we spotted our first marine mammals, a pod of orcas. A rare and amazing treat. Orcas are also known as killer whales. And did you know that they're matriarchal? That's right, the grandmother of the pod is the leader, and male orcas go and join other female-dominated pods. Maybe that's why orcas are so killer. I'm so glad I came out on this trip because this is my first whale sighting. But there's plenty more wildlife right around the bend. As we leave the Sechelt Inlet for the Jervis Inlet, there's a little island known as No Tree Island. It used to be known as One Tree Island because on it stood one evergreen. But someone came and cut the tree down to use as a Christmas tree. So now it's known as No Tree Island. And it's a local hangout for seals. Although they look like they're just lounging around with no care in the world, it's not as easy to be a seal as you may think. I mean, we just saw killer whales 5 minutes ago, and the reason they're called killer whales is because of the way they hunt and eat seal.
So they pay you to go on a gig like this?
Yeah.
Oh, tough job.
I know, right? I mean, look at all this beauty I have to endure and suffer through in order to bring you this Sunshine Coast Staycation special. Speaking of special, we're about to see something I've only ever seen on television myself, and I'm blown away by the fact that there are things like this all over the inlets. I'll give you a clue to what it is. It's man-made, at least 1,500 years old, and it's right around this corner. Is the suspense killing you? If it is, you'll just have to stay tuned and find out what I'm talking about after the break. Welcome back to Coast Magazine. Before the break, we promised we'd blow your mind. So I'll let our tour guide Mark tell you what we're looking at.
So directly off the bow, as we get in closer, you see the horizontal shelf? There's a boulder on the right-hand side. Just to the left of the boulder is red pictographs. I believe it's fish. And then it's almost like a ladder. I don't know whether it's marking how deep to fish. It's estimated between 1,500 and 2,000 years old. In the inlets around Seashelt and whatnot on the peninsula here, there's over 80 spots where there's pictographs on the rocks. Yeah, I'd like to know what they use for paint.
Exactly.
I'd paint the house with it.
Yeah.
You need it once every 1,500 years.
Time to continue on our Zodiac adventure. If this isn't a world-class vacation, I don't know what is. In fact, all the people on this Zodiac have traveled long and far to be here. But can you blame them? Look at this beauty. You know, living here, it's easy to start taking all of this for granted. The lushness of the trees, the vastness of the mountains, and the freshness of the air. If you travel, you'd know that the Sunshine Coast is one of the most beautiful places in the world. And no matter how much time you spend here, you can always learn or see something new.
When you're right over here where you see that looks like rain on the water, that'll be a ball of herring.
We're nearly at our destination, Chatterbox Falls, in the Princess Louisa Inlet. Truly a triumph of nature. This is Pacific Coast Fjordland, and the mile-high cliffs teem with dozens of waterfalls in early summer. But Chatterbox Falls at the head of the inlet is the main attraction. Many sailors come from all around and anchor in this inlet during the summer months. A lifestyle for the adventurer, and today, for us. We've stopped for a quick lunch, coffee, and of course, to play in the waterfall. A 2-minute hike into the Princess Louisa Marine Park takes you from the dock through a bit of forest. And you'll know when you get to the falls, because the rainbows will come out. This magnificent waterfall gathers waters from the mountain meadows and snowfields above the Princess Louisa Inlet and cascades down throughout the year. It's a perfect place for a lunchtime frolic.
It's an incredible experience. The water's clear. We've seen so many little seals bobbing their heads up and down. The waterfalls, well, they remind me, I grew up in Central Africa, they remind me of a miniature Victoria Falls. And I just love it here. And the weather could not be better.
For the more adventurous, a cold dip really helps to jolt the senses.
I've been coming here most of my adult life, so 45, 50 years, and it's one of the most beautiful areas of the world that I've sailed anyway, and Princess Louisa is, of course, a very special place, very special in my heart. We've been up here a number of times, and it's just a beautiful area of the world.
In fact, Earl Stanley Gardner may have put it best in his Log of a Landlubber when he wrote, "The deep calm of eternal silences is only disturbed by the muffled roar of throbbing waterfalls as they plunge down sheer cliffs. There is no scenery in the world that can beat it. Not that I've seen the rest of the world. I don't need to. I've seen Princess Louisa Inlet." So, once you've made your mark, it's time to head home. It's sad to say goodbye to such a beautiful spot, but the consolation prize is that you have a glorious hour-long Zodiac ride back through these beautiful fjordlands. As you make the journey back over the Malibu Rapids, make sure to notice the oldest known totem pole in the Shishak territory. Above all, make sure to soak it all in, because before you know it, we're back home at the West Coast Wilderness Lodge, our home away from home, while in awesome Egmont. We pull into the Back Eddy Marina after a wonderful adventure, chock full of marine wildlife and the power of nature. And Mark, our tour guide, was a real ace. All this adventure has stimulated my mind, soul, and appetite. But I'm in luck because there's a great lunch spot right on the marina that serves local grub and brews, the Back Eddy Pub.
Back Eddy is a marina pub accommodation, so we have an RV site, we have tenting sites, we have rustic cabins, we also have beachfront cabins that are brand new. We obviously have our oceanfront pub, and we have a nice little family dining area in the back there. All right, here we go, the legendary Skookum Burger. So our specialty obviously is the Skookum Burger, which is a 16-ounce burger with bacon, mushrooms, sauteed onions, smoked cheddar, lettuce, and tomato. Served with your choice of Canneback fries, soup, or salad. Everything's house-made, in-house, so all of our burger meat comes from Oak Tree Market and made in-house. And yeah, fresh local fish and chips.
Well, everything's great. I mean, we have Red Seal chefs that work up here, so we do a little thing that we kind of call under promise, over deliver. Because people don't expect that. We're in a rural part of the world, but you get up here in this beautiful, beautiful place. You get great quality food, a lot of local product, a lot of seafood orientation. We have fish tacos that are to die for. Chef does a great clam, mussel, chorizo sausage dish. Great. The world famous Skookum Burger. We use Oak Tree meat, hand-formed patties, make our own French fries. It's kind of old-fashioned, great quality pub food. A little bit of a twist, a little better than what you expect. Most people come and are delighted.
I couldn't agree more. Actually, that's the way I feel about this entire staycation in general. There's something for everyone in Egmont, and it'll always leave you wanting more. This summer, I'm already looking forward to a great package I found out about, where you can fly to the West Coast Wilderness Lodge on a Harbor Air float plane and dine on a private balcony at their restaurant, and then fly back, all for under $200. Look into it. If you really want to wow your summer guests, this is the perfect way to do it. After the break, we're headed to Egmont's famous Skookumchuck Narrows, so stay tuned. Welcome back to Coast Magazine. We're in Egmont today, and we're going to hike to the Skookumchuck Narrows. It's about an hour hike, and lucky for us, there's a bakery and cafe at the start of the trail, so we can fuel up. Nestled in the woods is this beautiful bake shop. I hear their Skookum cinnamon buns are pretty darn skookum. Baked fresh every morning, it's no surprise these buns sell out daily. But if you miss them, you can always try their blackberry buns or muffins. It's also a great place to pick up a water bottle or any other item you may need for your hike, like trail mix. Although it's tempting to stay for hours, you want to hit the trail because there's a show at the end of it that is so rare it only exists here and on one other place on the globe. You'll know you're going in the right direction when you see this big boulder marking the entrance to the forest. The trail is not only beautiful, there are also educational plaques describing how the First Nations communities lived here thousands of years ago. The trail is mostly flat, give or take a few twists and turns at the end, so it's suitable for children, parents, and even grandparents. The informational material makes this hike interesting for those who love to learn. But if it's a workout you're after, a brisk pace can get you to the Narrows quicker. If you like to take your time, try looking up. The trees here are gargantuan, and if you come in midsummer, the trail offers tasty treats. These salal berries grow all over the forests around here and are full of healthy antioxidants. The word salal means August in Salish language and signifies that the month of August is when these berries are ripe for the plucking. You can learn a lot about flora and fauna on this hike if you take your time in the forest. But at one point, you'll need to pick up the pace because a certain show is about to start, and it's always on time. Skookumchuck means strong water, and 2 times a day, tide water is forced through the Skookumchuck Narrows, forming the Seashelt Rapids. On the way in, it's called flood tide, and on the way out, ebb tide. Today, we've come during ebb tide, and North Point is the best lookout spot to see the whirlpool activity. If you go to SeasheltVisitorCenter.com, you can access their tide chart and see what time ebb and flood tides are. It changes every day. There's a half-hour window on either side of the best viewing times, so you don't need to be there right at the exact time. But if you're there for the full hour, it's quite a unique happenstance. And it's fun to just hang out and watch the power of water.
Well, the Seashell Inlet has billions and billions of gallons of seawater that when the Earth tilts on its axis and the moon, the gravity pulls it, all those billions of gallons of water have to rush through this little area, and the difference in the height can be up to 15 meters from one side through these rapids to the other side. So that's the history on the Skookumchuck Rapids. And if you go on YouTube, Google YouTube Skookumchuck Rapids, you can actually see a barge that tried to come through here at one time and got taken down by the rapids. You can watch it sinking.
Actually, most boaters know to avoid this area during ebb and flood tides, but there's the occasional yahoo that risks it. If you're not a professional boater, don't try this ever. Best to come and just enjoy the atmosphere, but don't think you'll be the only party. People from all over the world come to feast their eyes on this unique occurrence and to bask in the rich intertidal ecology. During flood tide, rolling point is where you'll see the biggest waves.
But actually the tide going the other way is when the kayakers come out. Have you seen the kayakers in it? Okay, you gotta, whatever this tide is, come to the opposite one. And you'll see all the kayakers right in the waves. They come from all over the world. Because this, I don't know if you know, this only happens 2 places in the entire world. Here and in Switzerland. What do you got to say about your hike in?
I thought it was very long, but it's worth the hike into and see all this.
If a picture paints 1,000 words, then being here paints 1,000,000,000. No picture can capture the experience of feeling the power and speed of this strong water.
Well,
Oh,
this
it's
is the
fantastic.
Yeah, first time we're in our
On Sunshine Coast?
We're from Vancouver Island. We love it. Nice walk in,
Yeah, it's fantastic.
longer walk out.
Beautiful weather.
Beautiful weather.
Yeah.
Well, it's time to say goodbye to the Skookumchuck Narrows for now and head back up the 4-kilometer trail. Hey, the bakery's open for lunch, which is perfect because I've worked up quite an appetite. Looks like they've added a savory twist to the sweet cinnamon bun. A pesto, Asiago Parmesan, and tomato roll. Sounds like the perfect end to the perfect trip. Delicious. I can't believe what fun I've had here at the Skookumchuck Narrows Provincial Park. In fact, my entire Egmont staycation was way more than I expected. Egmont, you've underpromised and overdelivered. I frolicked in world-famous waterfalls at the edge of the rainbow. I ate gourmet food and indulged myself at the West Coast Wilderness Lodge. Who needs to go to Switzerland when the most beautiful place in the world is in your own backyard? Egmont, you're world class.